Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing great today. Hey, we're going to be talking about something that's going on in England, and it's very important because we are so tied to England and we are watching England all the time. I talk about the Federal Reserve being the child, the little child next to Daddy England, the Bank of England, and what they're about to do with universal basic income. I am concerned that that is what is going to come next in America prior to the next election, okay? I'm not saying it's going to, but now that it's going to be trialed here in England, we need to watch out. And because if it comes here, it's going to have all kinds of devastating effects. All right, here we go. This story is out of Zero Hedge, and it's entitled Universal Basic Income to be Trialed in England. It says here, the scheme will see participants receive £1,600 a month for 2 years. Plans have been announced to trial a universal basic income, or UBI, in England that would see up to 30 people receive an additional payment of £1,600 a month. Now, first off, it's small, right? 30 people. They're like, that's pretty shockingly small, as a matter of fact. But what I want you to understand is these are always the building blocks of something bigger to come, all right? Because now think about it, 30 people, literally nothing, but they're going to be able to tell these stories about how it changed these people's lives. They are going to handpick these individuals, and they're going to have a lot of press on them, all right? Because they want to show all the benefits. And they want to say, oh, it doesn't cost that much. Look at what it's doing for these people. And it always gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And when you start to pay people to be non-productive, which we sort of are doing already in America, right? If you think about it, with all of this stuff, you know, I mean, think about this. When somebody is starving, they will work. They will do something. A lot of people think, oh, when they're starving, they'll steal. But what I'm saying is, you talk about that level of starvation. You know, when people want something better for themselves, they go out and try and get it. They go out and work. The problem is we have built up in our country such this this reliance on the government, not self-reliance, reliance on the government, to where people become entitled. And we're starting to see that out now. The people that are entitled are the ones running their mouths off. They're selfish. They think only of themselves, yet they seem to think that they're doing it in the eyes of helping other people, but they're really not. It's all about what can the government or other people give them. And that is what's crazy. We're literally in a country right now of little crying babies, little sniveling brats, and they're literally as old as in their 40s. I mean, I'm not joking. It's horrible. But where did this stem from? It stemmed from feeding the bears. If you feed the bears, they don't leave the campground. And people need to realize that. And that's where this is going. And I want people to understand, as small as a trial as this is, it's the building block. It's what the government wants. Think about it. They want to pay their taxpayers, because what happens if the taxpayers get out of line and start doing what they don't want? Their voters? Well, then they just take away the food, and then they get right back in line. Oh, sorry, Daddy, I'll do it. So that's why I think this is very important. It says, under the scheme, which is the first of its kind in England, residents in central Jarrow, northeast England, and East Finchley, North London, will be handed the funds each month for 2 years, and researchers will monitor the effects the payments has on their work ethic and mental well-being. Think about that. They're going to have to, if you're already giving something to someone that doesn't have good mental well-being, what makes you think it will make it better? Now, in this case, I can guarantee you, it's going to be amazing. The results are going to be amazing. Why? Because the government wants this program to get bigger. And they want to steal money from the working class people to give it to the non-working class people, right? Then what they could do is they could start class warfare. And that's the greatest thing for a government, because if they get the different classes fighting, they're so confused they don't even know that the government's doing all these laws to put them in jail someday. That's literally where it goes. And for anybody who would say, you're so doom and gloom, read history. This is how I always script the word, totalitarian, whatever, governments, this is how they get there. They don't get there overnight. Look at Germany. Look at before the Weimar Republic went into hyperinflation. It was a first world country. They were crushing it. They were doing well economically. They fell into bad times, and then their government, really taken over by someone that they voted for, Hitler, started putting in laws to essentially thrust them into war with the world and to enslave a lot of their citizens. This is very serious, all right? Throughout history, this is what happens. All right. The trial run has been organized by the Progressive Autonomy think tank. Don't you love that word? Anytime I hear the word progressive, I run. That's a first sign. Which is seeking to fund 1.6 million for the scheme through private donors. Okay. And remember too, again, I want you to stop here and think about this. You go, oh, it's a private situation. It's an organization trying to do this. That's just a separate arm of the government, okay? They work through nonprofits all of the time. Ugh, okay, because a lot of these nonprofits can also be donors to campaign funds and things like that. I don't want to get into that. It makes me sick to my stomach. The initiative is not being paid for by the UK taxpayers and is not affiliated with the British government. It's coming. It's hard to explain this to a lot of people, how things throughout history progress and how they build. But I want you to remember too, prohibition in America wasn't started by the government. It was started by a private organization. It was started by a group of people that got together at a private organization that encouraged a bunch of ladies to start protesting and stuff and really encouraging them to get out there. And then eventually the noise was so loud that the government did something about it. And that's what's going to happen here. They're going to prove, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We need to do something about this. Government, why aren't you giving these people money, more money? And then the government will be like, oh my gosh, and they're going to do it, okay? This is how it works. And they're usually planned events. This is what they say, their organization says. Our society is going to require some form of basic income in the coming years, given the tumult of climate change. Okay, we're dealing with a deck of cards that are, we're not, it's not a full deck, let's put it that way. But the scary thing is, they're the loud ones, they're the ones screaming, all right? Given the tumult of climate change, tech disruption, and industrial transition that lies ahead, claimed Will Strange, Autonomy's Director of Research. This is why building the evidence base and public engagement now is so important, so the ground is well prepared for national implementation. Guys, I'm not joking. I never, ever on this channel have read a story prior to hitting the record button, whether it be live or this. So you see how I interject this kind of stuff? And then later you're reading it and it's literally what I was just telling you. Why? Because this is literally how the world works. Once you start to realize how the world works, how special interest groups get involved, then they push it through the government, and they usually do it by bribery, paying, blackmail, things like that, and the government gets there. And then the government employees are actually made up of people that were once working for banks, and how it's an incestuous relationship. You have private banks. You should not even be allowed, in my opinion, to work for a big fund, a bank, and then move over in the government. Look at what just happened with our Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. She was the Federal Reserve Chairman. That is a private bank. That is the bank that loans the government all the money. And you look at what happened with Hank Paulson and so many other people. It is an incestuous relationship, and before you know it, the bank and the government is one, so which means the bank runs the government, and people don't understand that. And so like this, I'm literally reading the story, but before I'm telling you this stuff, and I cannot be more honest with you. I never read these stories before, but that's where this is dangerous. This is a bad idea. And even though it's starting small, you need to watch these signs. And that's why we need the middle class to become wealthier than they've ever been in history. And how we do that is we get out of debt, we get ready for this artificial collapse that's being set up by the banks around the world to buy your assets. And we need to buy them before that. Guys, I thank you so much for watching this. Thank you to everybody who hits the thumbs up and shares these videos. It means a lot to me. The Economic Ninja is out.